A warm welcome from Zurich Insurance. Please take note of the following tips to ensure a smooth experience during this webinar. All attendees are in listen-only mode. To ask questions during this webinar, please use the Q&A function to the right-hand side of your screen. Please note that this webinar may be recorded. For optimal bandwidth, we recommend closing other applications on your laptop or mobile device. Where possible, try to minimise the usage of the internet by others in your household. But most importantly, sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar on Cyber Resilience Beyond Cyber Essentials. It's great to have you joining us this morning. My name's Claire and I'm the Events Manager at NCVO. NCVO is the membership body for charities in England, connecting, representing and supporting 15,500 members. We're delighted to be bringing this webinar to you in partnership with Zurich Insurance, one of our trusted suppliers. We'll be recording today's webinar and the recording and the slides will be sent to you afterwards. There will be time for Q&A during the final 15 minutes, so please submit your cyber resilience questions throughout the webinar and we will do our best to answer them. Before we get started, I'd just like to highlight that NCVO have a selection of IT trusted suppliers who can offer advice on cybersecurity and help you to ensure that your organisation is protected against cyber attacks. You can find out more at ncvo.org.uk/practical-support and look for the section on trusted suppliers. And so, without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Aaron Banerjee, Cyber Risk Consultant at Zurich Insurance, who will be leading today's webinar. Over to you, Aaron.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Arun Banerjee. I'm a Cyber Risk Consultant at Zurich. My role is to help the underwriters understand complex cyber risk as part of their cyber underwriting process, as well as help clients and customers identify their cyber risk and mitigate them accordingly. Thanks for joining me this morning for this webinar. And today we are going to talk about some of the key challenges and good practices to follow for cyber risk management. For this presentation, I have considered that my audience is from different sizes of charities with different levels of technical knowledges. Where it might get a bit technical, I have given a tech alert. So, without wasting any time, let's start with our webinar. The last decade has seen a huge explosion of technologies, and the societal dependency on technologies are increasing every day. From toasters to cars to medical devices, we have connected almost everything to internet. And these cutting-edge technologies and data analytics are providing real benefits to humanity. But with every good thing, like every good thing has a dark side, and this revolution in technology is no exception. So we have a collective responsibility to ensure technology and the data is handled in a safe and secure manner. The ransomware attack on the German hospital, which happened a couple of weeks back, had ended up taking a patient's life. So cybersecurity is no longer about data security. It has also become a concern for life security. Today, I'm going to talk about cyber risks, cyber risk mitigation, cyber certification, cyber essential, and some of the other good controls to implement to enhance your basic cyber maturity. Throughout the webinar, I will give some takeaway questions for you to think about or take it back to your stakeholders within your charity. Last year, when DCMS was carrying out a cyber breach survey, they found out that 44% of the charities are not seriously taking their cyber security. They are not identifying or mitigating cyber risk. The figure is also very close to a similar survey conducted by the Charity Commission of England and Wales. But the same year saw 26% of the charities reporting some kind of data breach. If you go to the DCMA Cybersecurity Breach Survey 2019 and 2020, you will have more details about these figures. But what are the different breaches or the cyber attack which we saw last year? The first one, I have highlighted 3 out here. The first one is Mermaids, where sensitive email was leaked online. The next one is St. John's Ambulance, who had a ransomware attack. And again, the third one is a data breach, which hits Independent Age, where a personal information for a number of charity staff was accidentally disclosed to former employees who have submitted a subject access request. So these kind of different attacks, where some of them are like insider, sending out emails with sensitive information to someone, or a ransomware attack, this keeps on happening throughout the year. So that brings me to my first takeaway question. Are you giving enough attention to identify cyber risk for your charity? Report shows that 60% of UK charities will answer yes. So if you are one of those 61%, then it's great. If you are not, then I hope this webinar will help you to change your mind. The first thing to understand is the why and who of cyber security. So why are you a target? You are a charity, small, medium size, large, but why are you a target? Charities have fund, payment card data, which is always a lucrative target. Remember, at the end of the day, the main motivation of cyber criminals are mostly financial gains. Some of you collect money using your public-facing website, which is always a prime target. Other than that, charities have sensitive data, personal, financial, commercial data. Data is valuable. It is considered as the most valuable resource right now. So cyber criminals are always trying to go after your data. Finally, some of the charities, like the one associated with research, have intellectual property, which are also a lucrative target. So, who are after your assets? Who are after your funds, your data, your money? First one are this online cyber criminal, who are either financially motivated or some kind of hack, who are ideologically motivated. These criminals range from low skill, just for fun type kids, and it goes to like the serious cybercrime gang who have all the right business model of a profitable organization. Then you have the big insider threat, which can be by a disgruntled employee with a malicious intent or an honest mistake by a staff, like sending an email with sensitive information to the wrong recipient accidentally. Even viewing sensitive information without a proper business justification is a breach of confidentiality. And in some of the places, it must be reported to ICO under GDPR. Finally, you have the big boys. Now, you might be thinking, why would a nation state try to attack a charity? But sometimes what happens, these charities are caught in the crossfire, or you might be an entry source to a bigger target. So even a nation state is something to watch out for. So how do these different cyber criminals try to compromise your environment? So what are the cyber threats? I won't go deep into this, but some of them are like DDoS attack on your network or public-facing website, malware attacks like ransomware attack. Both can cause major business interruption, or things like business email compromise, phishing. Remember, most of the time, a ransomware event starts with a simple phishing email. Then you have the insider threat, which we just talked about. Fake website, fake rating. Reputations and ratings are really important for charities. And by impacting the integrity of the rating, a cyber criminal can cause major impact. Fake website can also divert the much needed fund from the charities to the pockets of the cyber criminal. Finally, you have to consider supply chain attacks, where a compromised member in your supply chain with weak cyber maturity becomes an unauthorized entry point into your business environment or data. I will talk about supply chain attack later in my presentation. That brings me to my takeaway question number 2. Are you aware of all the key dependencies on your supply chain and their cyber maturity? When Blackball was attacked with a ransomware this year, over 30 UK charities felt the pain. But have anyone after the attack went back to them and asked for the major incident report or their future strategies to ensure similar breaches are avoided? Or next time when you buy a product or you share data with a third party, will any one of you check how good the third party is with their cyber maturity? I will say you should. Once you have identified your threats and the risk impacting your business, you need to apply mitigating controls. Sometimes a good mitigation can be doing nothing, especially when a control won't give you a lot of value for the money you invest. Controls are of three types: technical control, people control, and the process control. And all these controls should be implemented in a proportionate way. It is always good to use frameworks when you choose your controls. Like NCSC's small charity guide is very good for small charities, whereas the 10 steps of cyber is good for small and even mid-sized charities. But if you are a big charity, you can aim for CAF, NCSC CAF, Cyber Assessment Framework, ISO 27001, NIST, or SANS, because they require considerable investment of time, resource, and money. Similarly, when it comes to certification, ISO 27001 or NIST certification is very good, but it is for, I would say, for big charities, as it requires considerable amount of resources, time, and money. But if you are a small or mid-sized charity, you should definitely do the Cyber Essential and the Cyber Essential Plus, which can be achieved, and according to me, must be achieved by all different sizes of charities. Before I start talking about Cyber Essential, let's have a look into my third question. Are you aware of the Her Majesty's Government's Cyber Essential certification? The reason why I'm asking you the question is because when DCMS conducted their survey, they found out only 13% of charities are actually aware of the Cyber Essential. So that's why it is really important for you to go and find out what is Cyber Essential certification. So let me help you with this. What is Cyber Essential? It is a basic cyber maturity certification backed up by Her Majesty's Government. It helps organizations protect themselves against common internet-borne cyber threats. It was launched in 2014, and as I said, it is suitable for every size of organization in any sector. What it does, it actually checks your cyber maturity across 5 different themes: boundary firewall and internet gateway, your secure configuration, user access control, malware protection, and patch management. These are the 5 areas which it will check. And Cyber Essential certifications have 2 levels of certification. First one is a self-assessment, and the second one is which is called the Cyber Essential Plus. It is a self-assessment plus hands-on technical verification. These are vulnerability scans of your internet-facing infrastructures and systems. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits of doing the Cyber Essential certification? First of all, it helps to protect your organization, your charity against the common internet-borne cyber attacks. It demonstrates good cyber hygiene, good cyber practice within the business. It provides reassurance to your customers, donors, volunteers, vendors, trustees, and everyone, whoever is associated with the charity. It gives them reassurance that they are doing business or they are transacting with a secure charity. It attracts new donors. Because if I am going and paying for a charity and I have to choose between 2 and one of them shows their website is not secure, I will perhaps choose the other one because I'm paying through my card. So having the Cyber Essential certification and displaying the badge actually help. It enables you to bid for government contracts. There are a lot of procurement framework right now who are actually asking for Cyber Essential. Yeah, right now maybe it's recommended, but going forward it will be definitely, it must be like you should have a Cyber Essential certification. It will be a must. And a UK domiciled organization with a turnover of less than 20 million, if they achieve the Cyber Essential certification, gets a cyber liability insurance cover of £25,000. I've given the link, which you can go and have a look. That brings me to my fourth question. Are you aware of this, of the free cyber insurance option with Cyber Essential certification? Because insurance helps, definitely it helps. But remember, before you go for cyber insurance, it's much essential to have a good cyber maturity. And Cyber Essential or Cyber Essential Plus is a very good way to demonstrate that maturity, that you are doing the right thing. So the big question is, I have gone for Cyber Essential, I have got myself certified, is it enough? Perhaps the answer is no. Cyber Essential is a great certification to start, but it is not a destination. It is just the beginning of a long journey. So what are the other things to consider when you are actually trying to have a holistic cyber maturity for your charity? And these can be from a small charity to a large charity. These are definitely the basic things to consider according to me. Now, if you remember, I talked about my alert for my technical part of the website of this webinar. So this is where I give my Tech Talk alert. You will see my 3 chilies out here. Some of the words which I will use in the next part of the presentation as a bit technical. So the first one, the first control is identify and back up your critical asset. This is one control which doesn't get checked in the Cyber Essential certification, but it is a very important control for every charity to implement. First thing is identify your crown jewels, your sensitive data. Where is your fund coming from? So with the application which is managing your fund, your official website, your business application, your intellectual properties. These are the crown jewels for your charity. So identify them. Take a spreadsheet and make a note of all of them. And then ensure all of them are regularly backed up. You define what is regular for you. It can be daily, it can be weekly, it can be whatever it is, but you define that and make sure it is backed up. Once you have backed it up, don't just leave it like that. Test your backup restoration. Because remember, just having a backup is not enough. You need to also ensure that if you want to restore from the backup, you can do that. So test the backup restoration. Ensure that the backup is separate from the main location of the asset. So if you are a small charity and if you have a laptop which you are using, don't back up in the same laptop, because in case something happens to the laptop, you not only lose the main data, but you also lose the backup. Consider cloud. Cloud is good. There's nothing wrong with cloud. You can back up in cloud, but make sure you identify your critical assets and you back them up. Okay, takeaway question number 5. What are the top 3 systems which you consider as your crown jewel? So if I ask you to take a pen and paper and make a note of the top 3 systems, can you do that? So these are the systems. If they are not available, it will create a considerable impact on your business. That brings me to my second control. This is a control which gets checked in the Cyber Essential certification. This is using sensible password policy. Passwords are really important. So apply password and PIN to all devices, mobile devices, every device. Apply password to application. Make sure you are using sensible password. Don't try to have an overcomplicated password, because remember, you are only making it complex for yourself. Passwords, when they are longer, they are stronger. So have a longer password than a very, very complex 6, 7, or even 8-character password. If MFA is available, enable it. MFA is really a very good thing. So multi-factor authentication, if it is available, just simply enable it. It's really good. But MFA for VPN or remote access is a must. So if you're connecting into your charity's environment from outside, you must have an MFA. And finally, disable all default passwords. Like these are passwords from your firewall, password from your internet, from your internet routers, internet gateway devices, servers, normal laptops, all the default passwords, just disable or all of them or change them. It is really important. So my next control, apply technical protective controls. The first thing to do is separate admin and standard accounts. So what are admin accounts? Admin accounts are accounts which can make changes to your system. And so standard accounts are those accounts which doesn't have that privilege. That's why it is really, really important to separate them so that those standard accounts cannot make changes to your system. Remember, when you have some kind of a cyber attack, the attacker will try to use your permission to make changes to your system, make changes to your network. So that's why it is really, really important not to have email or internet access for your admins. So if you have the money to invest behind technology, great, invest. Even if you don't have that, at least have a policy in your organization which tells that administrative account cannot use emails and internet. Next, have firewall with blocked default admin accounts and any unused port. That is really, really important. That is one thing which gets checked in Cyber Essentials certification. Have anti-malware protection for all system scanning, and it must be scanning automatically, and it must be updating regularly. The updating part is really important. The next control, which according to me is perhaps the closest to the silver bullet, is having regular patching. Always use up-to-date operating system with regular patching. Never ever delay that patching which pops up on your screen. Make sure you patch regularly. Finally, block USBs. Blocking USBs is really, really important. Have you ever thought about a situation where someone can actually have a malware in a pen drive and make like 10 copies of that and throw that on the parking lot of your charity? How many of your users do you think will bring that pen drive and out of curiosity plug it in to see what is inside the pen drive? So that's why it's really important to block that USB. My fourth control is about mobile devices. Smartphones and tablets are the new normal for every business. The boundary between our professional life and our personal life has sort of disappeared. We live inside our mobile phone. We have our banking app, and also we have our organization's email applications or other business application on our mobile phone. That's why securing those mobile phone is really, really essential. So what are the things to do? Apply PIN, password, fingerprint, and facial recognition. That is really important. Protect it from unauthorized access. Configure remote tracking. Remote tracking is really essential. You can do remote tracking using expensive piece of technology. Even if you don't have the money to spend behind expensive piece of technology and you are using, say, for example, iPhone, you can go to iCloud and enable remote tracking so that if a device is lost, you can go and see where the device is. Again, enable automatic updates like patching, which I talked about in my last control. Enable the patching. It should be regularly patched. Don't connect to any public Wi-Fi, especially if you have sensitive information on your mobile device. It is really important. And then encrypt the data in the device. Apply encryption. Talking about encryption, encryption is my fifth control. As I said, encrypt mobile devices. Encrypt every data in transit, especially email with sensitive information. Even if you don't have your own internal Exchange server or Office 365, even like the normal email providers, like the free email providers or the one known in the market, they nowadays are giving the ability to encrypt your email. So if you are sending any email with sensitive information, make sure they are encrypted. And make sure your business website is also encrypted. Again, it goes back to what I was saying before, that if I have the option to choose between two charities and I find out one of the charities doesn't have a secure website, I won't pay to that charity. I will pay to the other charity. So make sure your website is also encrypted, is also secure. My next point is about information and cyber and information governance awareness. This is one of the key control which every organization should actually implement, like ensuring that they have a cyber aware workforce. Remember, last year, 9 out of 10 data breach reported to ICO was due to mistake of user. So if you can actually convert this weak link into your strong link, then it is really beneficial for your business. It will be a very good cyber protection. So what are the normal things to do? Make sure your users are aware of your security policies, like email policy, password policy, and all those different policies. HR policies. Make sure they know the acceptable use policy. What is acceptable by the business? Like we were talking about when I was talking about segregating between your admin account from standard account. That accessing email and internet using admin account is not acceptable by the business. Make sure the users are aware of that. Help the user understand how to spot a phishing email. So tell them, educate them what are the good things to check in a phishing email, and encourage them to report any breach without promoting any blame culture. So if they have clicked on a phishing link, or if they have sent some information to with a sensitive information to some unauthorized or unwanted recipient, encourage them to report that rather than just keeping it to themselves. As I said, create a cyber aware workforce. Give them all the knowledge they need to make sure they are doing their business safe and in a secure way. Okay, my takeaway question number 6. Are your users aware of what to do if they send an email with sensitive information to a wrong recipient by mistake? Have you told your users what to do if they have done that? I hope they are not just keeping the whole mistake to themselves and hoping no one will get to know. The next control, mitigating supply chain risk. Supply chain attacks are increasing every day. We are seeing that a company with good cyber maturity is getting some kind of a compromise because they had kept a backdoor open to a supplier who is not that good with cyber. So the first thing to do, list all your suppliers, vendors, service provider. It might be that you have outsourced your IT services to someone else. List them. Who have access to your environment, to your systems, to your data. List them first. Then make sure you have the appropriate control to ensure that they are securely connecting to your environment. If a supplier only comes in once a year, disable their account. Just enable the account when it's required. By that, you are ensuring that throughout the year, when the supplier is not using the account, their account cannot be used to come into your environment. Check if your supply chain are taking cyber and information governance seriously. Check that. Ask for security certification. Ask them, like, do you have any kind of security certification? Like, that brings me to my next question. Do the members of your supply chain have cyber essential or similar cyber certification? Have you checked that? My last control is have some response capability in place. Have a cyber incident response plan in place. It can be a one-pager, like which just knows that if we have a attack, a phishing attack, we will do this. If we have a ransomware attack, we will do this. And these are the important phone numbers or the important person to get in touch with. Have like a 1-page, 2-page, have it ready, and make sure you have it ready when you have the attack. Don't just have a soft copy in a computer. Then when you have a ransomware attack, you lose access to that. So have it ready, like print it and stick it on the wall. And then exercise those plans. It's like fire drills. Exercise those drills. Have the drills. Like, okay, we had a ransomware attack. What we will do? Exercise, a tabletop exercise. NCSC has a tool called Exercise in a Box, which is really, really good for, I would say, like small, medium organizations to use. If you cannot invest time and resource behind exercising, definitely use that. It is really, really useful. And whatever comes out of the fire drill, your lesson learned, make sure you act on those lessons learned. Make sure you incorporate them into your future strategies and enhance your response plans. That is really important. So these are my 8 different things to consider beyond Cyber Essential. Some of them gets considered in the Cyber Essential, but some of the other things like response, supply chain, information governance, encryption, backup, they don't get considered in Cyber Essential, but every business should definitely consider having some kind of protective controls or consider different controls for them. So my 8th question, do you know whom to get in touch if tomorrow you face a ransomware attack? So tomorrow, if you have a ransomware attack, do you know whom to get in touch with? Do you have it written somewhere? Is everyone, every stakeholder in the business aware of that, whom to get in touch? That brings me to my last part of the presentation. What is the role of senior management in the whole cyber maturity journey? There are 2 graphs at the bottom. You can see that last year, going back to the DCMS Cybersecurity Breach Survey, 74% of the organization said that cybersecurity is seen as a high priority for directors, trustees, and other senior managers. That has increased from 2018. 2018 was 53, then went to 75, and then 74. I don't know why there's a drop of 1%. But obviously, the increase from 53% makes sense, because that's where GDPR kicked in. So people started taking things much more seriously. So it is really, really important that at least one person in the organization is responsible or answerable for cyber governance. It can be your CFO, it can be your business director, but some person responsible for cyber governance. Ensure that senior management support and there is a regular agenda in board discussion about cyber. Cyber should be regularly discussed. What are the controls which are getting implemented, how good we are, how compliant we are, these should be discussed. And cyber risk must be captured as part of business risk. Cyber should not be taken as the IT risk. Like it's cyber, it is that IT guy is responsible for it. No, cyber is a business risk. So the business leaders must think about cyber. What happens if my main website is down? What happens if my HR system is down? What is the impact on the business? Those are the things to consider. And then you ensure that you involve the right people to make sure those different areas are taken care of, those different risks are mitigated properly. And finally, senior management should participate in the incident response exercises, because when it comes to incident response, senior management has a big role to play. So when exercising, make sure you participate in that. So that brings me to my 9th and final question. Is cyber a high priority for your senior management? So if you are a senior manager within your charity, it's a question for you. If you're not, then it's a question which you should go to your board and ask, how much priority are we giving to cyber? Because tomorrow, if we have a ransomware attack, what will happen to us? Can we survive? Or how long can we survive? That is really important. In my supply chain, how many black ball are we having so that tomorrow, if they get attacked, we will feel the pain. So all those things needs to be found out, all the risk needs to be actually identified and needs to be mitigated properly. Thank you. Do you have any question?
Thank you very much for that really informative session, Aaron. So we're going to start the Q&A session now. So I'm just going to start with some of the sort of more popular questions that have been put forward. So a great one here for you. Our trustees are reluctant to have their own internal emails set up, preferring for communication to be and from their own personal or work email accounts. This worries me. Am I right to be concerned? And if so, what can you recommend that I do to persuade them to make a change? Many thanks.
Definitely, see, as I said, controls are of 3 types. So out here, you need to actually define a process where it says and the policy, which will clearly say that emails, especially if the emails have any kind of sensitive information, needs to actually go through the official channel. It shouldn't go using a personal email or any other email which the charity doesn't endorse. So you need to have a proper policy defined. This is the policy of the charity, and we will always ensure this policy is enforced. I think that is the way to actually do this.
Great, thank you. So next question is, how much does the certification cost?
So there are 2 certifications. The first one is Cyber Essential. I think it's cost like £300 plus VAT. It's a self-assessment, so it doesn't cost a lot. It's a basic certification, and then you have the Cyber Essential Plus, which is the bigger certification. That varies from companies to company, and it varies on the complexity of the environment. It varies for the scope of the certification and how much checks the certifying body is actually carrying out. So I don't have a figure for that, but the normal basic certification is £300 plus VAT.
Lovely, thank you. So who provides the free cyber insurance? Is it the charity's existing insurance provider who then recoups the cost from the government?
No, the charity, the Cyber Essential insurance, it is underwritten by AXA XL. So that's a division of AXA who underwrites that. So, and I don't think you get the charity if you already have a cyber cover, because if you have a different cyber cover, then you don't need that £25,000 cover from AXA. But if you don't have a cyber cover, and if you are within that particular £20 million and UK domicile charity or any organization, and if you do either of the 2 certification, you get that cover of 25,000 from AXA. If you want more details, I would suggest that I have given the link, and also go to IASME website, and they will have all the details about not only the certification, but also who can certify you, or like what are the details of the insurance, how do you claim the insurance, or how do you have more details about those insurance once you have the certification.
Lovely, thank you. So do you know what kind of checks are involved in each of the 5 sections of Cyber Essentials certification?
Yeah, it has loads series of questions. If you want to know more about it, I would suggest that go to, again, the IASME's website, and you can download a pre-check questionnaire which actually gives you a flavor of what kind of question will be asked. So you get a whole questionnaire, you can actually answer them and see where you are good, where you are bad, and then you can actually do a gap analysis. A lot of companies who does the certification, they will first come and help you to do a gap analysis. Like, okay, this is what Cyber Essential is asking me to do, and this is my present security posture. So what do I need to do to like fix that gap? So you can even do it by yourself by going to the same IASME's website, and you can get the download, or you can get the PDF downloaded, and you can do it by yourself. I can share the link.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. We can send that out afterwards as well with the recording and the slides, which will be sent out via email post session. So the next question is, quite a bit of what has been said requires some tech knowledge, e.g. to have the right licenses to ensure you can safely set up MFA.
Can you ask the question once again? Sorry, I missed the question.
That's all right. Quite a bit of what has been said requires some tech knowledge. To have the right licenses to ensure that you can safely set up MFA, for example. In a charity of 3 people, we don't have that. Do you have any consultants or services that charities can go to have a health check and consultancy to support setting it up properly?
Yeah, definitely within Zurich, we have risk engineers who can actually help you to do that. And also, as Claire said at the beginning of this presentation, there are trusted IT providers who can help you. But even if you're a charity of like 2-member, 3-member, and I'm assuming that you don't have your own Exchange server and you're using like Hotmail or say, for example, Google Mail, even they have multi-factor authentication. So enable that. So, and if you are using iCloud, enable multi-factor authentication. Those are free, but you have access to that and you don't need to pay anything extra. So I would say like enable those, whatever is available. If you are a big charity, if you grow big and then you have the money to invest behind technologies and you can, that's great. But even if you are small, a lot of these things like multi-factor authentication, encryption nowadays comes part and parcel of even like free email services which we get in the market. So enable them. And then if you want to get any kind of help, definitely we can help. We have partners who can help, and even NCVO has trusted IT partners who can help you.
Great, thank you. So is it safe to use Password Manager?
Oh yes, I would say like definitely it's safe to use Password Manager, and I would say like rather use it, because I have seen from my own experience of working in the industry, password can be a big overhead. Like I think the biggest problem of password is you forget password, especially if you're not using every day. Application which doesn't get used every day and you forget those passwords. And we tell everyone have different password for different account. So password managers are actually a great thing to have, where you have a master password, you only remember that password, and it's like a single sign-on where you go to different application and you log in using just remembering only one password, so that you don't forget the other password, and then you are in the middle of something and you need to quickly access the application and you have forgot the password. Everyone has faced the situation, so you don't face those kind of situation. So that's why I would say like password managers it's a real good thing to have, even the free ones.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, we are going to get a new website designed. Is there some accreditation for designers or platform managers that we should look for?
Website design. If you go to NCSC's website, there are a lot of good practices for website designs and like application design. I would say like follow them. Make sure your website has the right encryption in place. It has the right security certifications in place, or like the communication. It is a HTTPS website, not a HTTP website. So have those basic things in place. And then you can, if you want more assurance, annually you can do a lot of testing to the website. Your internet-facing applications and website, they can be pen tested annually to ensure that you are doing the right thing more securely. You can do that. But I would say like for the start, Consider privacy, like that comes with GDPR. You need to consider privacy for everything that you are doing. So consider how data are uh, captured, how they are managed, how they are processed, and how data security and privacy is baked into that. So definitely consider that. And it's like who have access, what level of access you are configuring so that all the data doesn't get leaked to the internet, or even within the organization it doesn't get leaked to unauthorized people. So consider those things. And after that, there are a lot of technical controls which NCSC will recommend. If you go to NCSC's website, you can find out what are the good things to do, what are the good checks. I would say implement that.
Great, thank you. So going back to sort of for the smaller charities of very few staff, without lots of tech knowledge, what would you recommend are the 3 most pressing cybersecurity issues that they should look for first and foremost?
See, again, it goes back to first thing is identified. What do we have and what is most important for me? And then you design your cybersecurity around that. So if you have 2 applications which we use, okay, one for processing payment and one for processing data, just for example, okay, make sure those 2 applications are properly backed up. That's the first thing to do. Make sure it is always up to date and always patched. So patching is really, really important. Like for me, backing up and patching an up-to-date operating system is perhaps the closest you get to having a silver bullet, especially for things like ransomware. So have those things in place first, okay, and then think about how to educate the user to be better with cyber, because having user awareness nowadays is perhaps the most important controls to have within the organization. Telling your users not to take cyber lightly. It is a very serious matter. So before you click on a link, think twice. Before you send the email, double check the recipient, especially if you have a sensitive information that is in the email. So all these basic things to do. So, and I will say, like, if you want to go to a framework, NCSC Small Steps for Charity, that is brilliant. Like, go to NCSC's website and see NCSC Small Steps of Charity. What is NCSC recommending? Or like the 8 things which I said, because these, some of them will overlap with NCSC's small charity recommendation. So do this and then at least have the basic Cyber Essential certification done for you. That's you with at least the basic maturity done. And then you can think, as you have, like, once you have done that, then you can invest more money, more resources behind making yourself much more mature. But to start with, do these basic things, like identify your assets, back up, go to NCSC's Small Steps of Charity, see what they are recommending, do that, do the Cyber Essential certification. I would say that is a perfect start.
Lovely, thank you. And another question that a few people have asked, is there a particular password manager that you would recommend?
I don't think I should recommend any password manager. That will be like me endorsing any password manager, but there are loads in the market. So do your own review and implement them.
Great, thank you. So another question is, we have a shared Dropbox linked to a secure server. Do we need to look at everyone's PC, laptop and mobile that have access to that Dropbox?
Okay, Dropbox. The first thing is do your organization's policy supports Dropbox? If the answer is yes, great. So everyone can use Dropbox. Okay. Then the next thing to consider is, how are you actually protecting the information inside the Dropbox? Is it like open share, which everyone has access? Then the question is, should everyone have access? The data which is out there, should it be accessible to everyone? Now, I come from a health sector background, so I used to handle like patient sensitive information considered as special category data. And out there, like, having the right access to the right kind of data is paramount. You need to consider that. So if you have employee A, B, and C who should have access to a particular share, ensure that only they have access to the share. The biggest problem, or if you look at the data breaches in cloud, you will see most of the time it is associated with people's permission to share. So if you make an open share in Dropbox, it is actually open to everyone in the world who can access internet. All you need is the link. So those are the things to do, like ensure that the permissions are set properly. Only certain people who should have access to that can actually open it. Then whether you should allow, allow Dropbox to be accessed from the website or like the web application, or you will apply the FAT client to be installed in the system. That is the organization's decision which you take. And again, whether you will allow users to back up their personal things to Dropbox, that is again charities or the organization's decision. It goes back to your policy, your appetite.
Great, thank you. So another question, sort of going back to a point you made earlier, just for clarification. So someone's just said, you mentioned that admins should not have access to emails or internet. How does this work if you are your own admin? We don't have a centralised admin team for setup and installation of software, etc. Or have I misunderstood that point?
No, see, a lot of small charities, that will be a problem. Even for like mid-sized charities, you have only one account and that is the admin. I would say like have that account and create a standard account. Even in your local machine account, you can go and create a standard account. So that account won't have the rights to configure the system. So that if your account gets compromised, that account cannot be used to laterally escalate across your network or even to compromise your own system. So it won't have any access to make changes to your environment. So completely segregate that and only use admin account if you are doing something which is administrative, like configuring the system, or you are installing something. When you are installing any application to the system, only then log in using the admin account, install the application, come out, and then for your daily normal business operation, use a standard account. Don't use that admin account, because if you use the admin account on a day-to-day purpose, you are putting yourself at risk. And then as you go bigger, if you have Active Directory and all the supports of all that, like Active Directory, even on-prem or on cloud, you can configure group policy and you can have all those things done from Active Directory, where you have one standard account with no administrative privilege, and then one admin account which can only do the server things, or which can only do the installation and all those things. Any changes to the system server for day-to-day purpose, only non-admin standard account which cannot make any changes to the system, and also which cannot access internet. Like for the admin account, make sure you don't allow internet and email connection, because remember, internet and emails are the main gateway through which a virus or a malware comes into your organization. So if you stop admin from using those two, you are actually blocking a big part of your, like, you are doing a big thing, like you are stopping a big risk from coming in.
Great, thank you for that. So the next question is, what should you do if you are cyber attacked? Who should you tell?
Who should you tell? See, those again needs to go back to having a response capability in place. You need to have it in writing. So if you have an insurance, you let your insurance provider know, and the insurance provider might have some incident response capability. They might have someone who can come and do forensic for you. But other than the whole IT part of incident response, the forensic part, there are a lot of things which is like, okay, if there's a data breach, who is responsible for reporting to ICO? Who is the data protection officer who will report to ICO? Or if there is who is responsible for communicating to outside? What will be the communication? Who drafts the communication? All those things needs to be written down. But normally, NCSC, you will get in touch with NCSC if you have a big problem, or if your insurance company who is providing you insurance, or if you have any contract with any IT provider who does incident response for you. So you will get in touch with them.
Thank you.
So another question here, cloud services increasingly asked to be indemnified against all risk. How to deal with the risk of data processors breaching our data when these processors insist on indemnifications?
Okay, so cloud services increasingly asked to indemnify against all risks. How do you deal with the data person using your data? When you have cloud services, you can assess the risk of cloud services using things like NCSC's 12 principles of cloud security. So you can use that to actually assess the risk for that. Obviously, that will be a good start.
Great, thank you. And the final question, what are the good controls to implement for mitigating the risk of phishing?
Oh, phishing. Phishing is very important because if you look into last year's ICO data breach reported to ICO, I think you get like 45%, which is actually phishing. But for phishing, you need to consider first thing is user awareness. It's a big part of phishing mitigation. Are your users aware of what is a phishing email? Are they always checking the recipient who is sending the email? Are they checking whether an email is coming from something.ru, maybe from Russia, whereas it's supposed to come somewhere in London? So all those things, I would say like 90% of the time, the recipient email address will tell you the story, whether it's a phishing email or not. And then educate your users about the good practices of phishing, like spelling mistakes, addressing the as like dear customer or something like that, and then like wrong grammar. So all those things, educate your users, and you create an environment with the organization where people are talking about, okay, I have clicked on a phishing link, what to do now. So reporting is really important. And then you can have like phishing exercises, phishing simulation for your users to educate them more about phishing, so that if they click on a link in the simulation, you point them towards a training which they need to do to enhance their maturity of cyber awareness. So that is the user part. And then you have the tech part, because you need to consider that if I have a phishing, how do I minimize the attack surface? How do I minimize the compromise? So for that, segregating admin from standard user, a good control. Patching, again, the best control, make sure it is properly patched. You have anti-malware protection, because most of the time phishing will actually drop a malware or it will try to have a data breach. So you have all those technical controls in place. And then how to reduce the phishing from coming in. Remember, phishing first part of any attack is reconnaissance, where people will go to like find out what is your digital footprint. Like cyber criminals will go and find out in LinkedIn and all those places. So I would say control your digital footprint. So if you have a charity email address, don't go to Starbucks and give that charity email address, or don't go. I'm just giving an example of Starbucks. Okay, I have nothing against Starbucks. Or don't go to anywhere where like anyone outside and just give those email address. Reduce your digital footprint. Use personal account than your corporate account, so that your personal account doesn't become the target. Then what else to do? You have some kind of incident response capability in place. That's what I said. Like, if I have a phishing attack, what are the things to do? I have encouraged my user to report that phishing the user has reported. Now what will I quarantine that system? What level, what kind of checks I will do for that system? So have all those 6 things in place. I can send a link to a paper which was published by Zurich last month, which was around how to have like a more phishing attack defending your organization. I think that was basically the name of the paper. So you can read that, and it talks about, I have talked about what are the different controls to implement to make sure you are good with phishing.
Great, thank you. There's just a couple of last questions which have come in, which we'll try and go through quickly. Are there online free training programs available?
Like free training for users? Yeah, there are definitely loads of free training to users. Like NCSC's official website or ICO's website has a wealth of information. Well, if you go to NCSC's website, there is a cyber aware campaign which NCSC is doing. You can get a lot of free cyber awareness videos to show to your users. Definitely go and check that. Then you have Take 5's website, which is good. And then you SAN's website is actually really good. You can go to SAN's website and you can subscribe to SAN's website, and it will send you loads of information about what are the good practices to follow. But I would say like the best will be go to NCSC's website, and they have dedicated videos for end users, like what is phishing, what is ransomware, what to do, what are the good practices. So I was like, that will be my first place to go.
Great, thank you so much for that session today, Aaron. I'm just going to hand over to Claire Legg from NCVO to close the session.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Janine.
Thanks, Janine. So thank you, Aaron, for sharing all of your expertise on cyber resilience with us today and for answering all of those questions. And thank you, everybody who's joined us for today's webinar. We hope you have found it useful. If you did submit a question that we didn't get around to answering, we will follow up. And we'll also send a link of the recording of the webinar and slides, as well as a link to a feedback survey. We would really appreciate your feedback if you could spare a minute to complete this for us. But thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you at one of our future webinars. Goodbye.